glad that you've joined us this morning for our Refresh, Reset, and Go webinar series. I'm here with my co-host, Teresa, who's the owner of TA Pedigo and Associates. And today, Teresa is going to be talking about the three critical practices to implement now. And we're still in the refresh portion of our series. Teresa, welcome. We're so glad that you joined us this morning for our Refresh, Reset, and Go webinar series. We're talking about your three practices to implement now. Teresa is an accomplished business consultant, joins us as the owner of TA Pedigo and Associates, and we're excited to hear from her today. Teresa helps business owners prioritize activities and streamline processes to create more time to make more money, which, right now we've got a lot of time, so we need to be working on our business. She possesses strong management skills in strategic planning, business analysis, time management, training and development. Teresa's high energy. That's one of the reasons why I like her so much. Business consultants with the ability to assist in research and design, implement a wide variety of projects within budgets and on schedule. Teresa has experience with managing complex projects, utilizing the development of project plans to achieve optimal business results. She's known as being ambitious, visionary, and professional who formulates new ideas and opportunities. Welcome, Teresa.
Well, welcome, and I am so excited to be able to partner with you and your law firm on doing this. Todd and I had talked about just doing an interview together, and we blew it up, right, into something even larger on the Refresh, Reset, Go, and are very excited to be able to bring some super experts with pertinent topics to share with you over the next 3 to 4 weeks, because I think we're trying to fill that 4th week, aren't we? So even bringing more. But Todd and I's philosophy are exactly the same, that we want to bring more to the business owners, to the communities, give you a chance to ask questions, but maybe, learn some things along the way, or I guess open your mind, because a lot of this, this kind of comes into a little bit of the 3 critical practices, but whenever we're facing something like this, I use the term spinning, that we get to spin and we don't really focus maybe on what we need to focus on, because we have all this noise, around us. We have the noise of the media, of course, politics, won't go there, and all the noise that, is created around our business, kind of on the what shall we do. So that's really where the crux of all this, came from. And so again, thank you for joining us. We are recording. Thank you for all the ones that you were getting the bloopers when you didn't know it when we got started, because Todd is teaching me how to use GoToWebinar, because I'm a Zoom girl. So I'm still trying to figure all the technology out for this. But without any further ado, as I watch our time clock, we'll get started. So what I picked was 3 critical practices to implement now. And I really do mean, of course, now. Now, when you look at these, there are things that you should be practicing in your business all the time. But the criticality of it, based on this pandemic, has raised. And so that's where we get these 3 critical practices of strengthening your cash flow management practice, control what you can control, and finally, pivot with a purpose. And I know you're probably hearing a lot about pivoting, because that seems to be the new word, right, Todd? Everybody is telling us to pivot.
Absolutely.
So, very first one, in strengthening your cash flow management practices. And the general rule of thumb for your business is that you should have liquid assets to cover approximately 3 to 6 months of your operation outlays or outflows. Okay, so not just looking at what you have in the checking account, but anything else that you could also liquidate. So if all went wrong and no money was coming in, then you would be able to pay for these items for a 3 to 6 month period. And then those of you know me always know that I say you need a line of credit, and if you don't have one for your small business or even larger business, you should really have that for when cash flow gets out of sync. So as much as we try, and I'm going to give you the tips to do to accomplish that, we sometimes need that line of credit to bend on. And a lot of people are afraid of it and the costs and haven't explored it. Normally it's an annual cost, and of course you don't have any other fees tied to it unless you draw on it and have the interest. So that's kind of a bonus thing I'm throwing into this first one. When I talk to business owners and prospects, when I ask them what the top 2 challenges that they go through, I usually hear cash flow or employees. So those 2, and it doesn't matter what the order is, but these are something that are shared, by most business owners at some point in their business. So on the cash flow subject is managing first our accounts receivable. And the big thing is I want everybody to know to bill sooner and collect faster. A lot of people wait a while to bill. The best practice right now in our environment is bill as soon as you can, as soon as the project, whatever you're providing is done, bill then. There are some people that wait till the end of the month, or they bill out the beginning of the next month. And as long as you're getting that practice completed in that time frame, that nothing else is interfering, so you're delaying getting your bills out, now that's okay, but have a planned process to bill as soon as you can and then collect faster. And by meaning that is you've got receivables out there, right, when you bill. And so you want to convert them, into that cash. And if you happen to hear something, it is not my belly rumbling, it's my dog on my lap, Paisley is sleeping during my presentation. I hope the rest of you are not as well, but you can hear her. But going to the accounts receivable, when I work with business owners, we look at the AR aging every month, and sometimes we look at it, more frequently than that. I've got a client now that we look at it weekly, just so we can watch and make sure that we are staying on the timing of those receivables. If you wait until something is in that 60-day or 61-day, and up category for collection, you're severely decreasing your opportunity to collect on that. Okay, so working these bills out as soon as possible, and working that if you haven't received anything in 31 to 60 days is a very critical function that you should be doing. We also have some people who they're very nice and they're empathetic to the businesses that they're working with, or clients, people, whatever, and they're like, I don't want to push that bill out, so fast. I want to wait a while. And that's wonderful. It's a wonderful gesture. It's everything great. You can tell if anybody knows about the DISC personality, I'm a solid DC. Those who are too nice may come in last because everyone else, they're sending their bills out. So what goes into the client or customer's head is, well, Teresa hasn't sent me a bill yet for the work that she did, so she must not be needing the money that bad. So I'm just going to wait till she, does get her invoice out, and I'm going to pay all these other things. Now, you may send that invoice out, and due to their own cash flow issues, they may be deciding what they're going to pay, but the important thing is reserve your place in line, okay? So that's accounts receivable management. On the accounts payable side, stretch out paying your bills as soon as possible. Pay more slowly. I always get amazed when I talk to different business owners that say, wow, when I get those bills in, I hurry up and get them paid quickly. Well, you're not taking advantage of your cash flow if you do that way. And believe me, I'm not telling you to be late. on your payments, okay? But pay more slowly, giving your cash flow more opportunity as you're doing those collections, and as long as you're getting it there on time. Stop opening up that bill or opening up your invoice on your computer and paying immediately. So those are the two things on strengthening your cash flow management processes. I was just thinking that I've had some other questions about incentives. Some people are putting, an incentive of a discount percentage or some dollar off if you pay within a certain time. So there are some that are getting creative to make sure that, that cash flow continues. So you may want to think, something of that. Also, what's been a really interesting phenomenon to me is I've watched more clients automate their invoices. So if they send out their invoice, they have a link, right on there that you can pay with your credit card or with a electronic bank check. And it's amazing how people are paying faster when you have that right in front of you. Again, this is happening now, and this will happen in your business, all the time. So if you haven't considered something like that, it is an excellent way to boost your cash flow. Todd, what do you think about that? Anything you want to add before I move on to number 2?
I've got a system called Invoice Sherpa, and
Okay.
Yeah, and it does exactly what you're talking about, and it's amazing. It used to be that you would have to ship out a bill, and then so you've got 4 days before the client will receive it. Then it's 4 days back to receive it. So if you can email the bill out to the client, you just cut out 8 days in your process, and sped it up by that 8 days. So yeah, I mean, I'm right on board with what you're saying. The faster we can get money in hand, the better it is. But I know bad practice is always there. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, even though some of you may be like, okay, I heard that before, what she shared, you probably have maybe some new points that I offered in there. There's a lot difference in hearing it and applying it. So doing that. And although some people have been concerned, and I know I've been concerned for some of my clients when they have put those links, on, say, on a QuickBooks invoice to have them paid that way faster, like you're going to increase your merchant fees, a cost of doing business. But if you can collect quicker, then that could really be a good investment. So something, to consider. Okay. How about we move on to number 2? Number 2 is control what you can control. And I actually read and watched a video that Mark Cuban, and maybe some of you know that name, some of you not, but he's a great serial entrepreneur. I think he owns the Mavericks, but most of you would know him from being on the show Shark Tank. And so he came out with, in his talk, control what you can control. Instead of focusing on how bad things may be, channel that energy into connecting with your future customers, clean up messes, and change things you wish you could redo. Okay? So don't focus on the bad, channel the energy elsewhere. We all know that worrying does nothing but waste energy, right? That energy channeled somewhere else will be far more productive. And as you channel that energy in thinking and moving forward, that momentum that you start, will pull you that way. So kind of going back to the other point, when I talked about spinning, we can sit and we can worry about the business, we can wring our hands, we can wonder, what tomorrow or 2 months or 6 months brings, but that doesn't help us move our business and continue moving it. And some say, well, I can't get out of it. And I say, start with the smallest thing. Control what you can control. What can you do today? What can you sit down, think about, and move your ship forward? And then you're channeling that energy positively. And again, that momentum, will continue to pull you through. A sip on that. That was just to help you soak all of that in. One of my fellow AVA coaches out in Massachusetts, he had shared a saying that there is luxury in a crisis. That's probably something to think about that maybe you haven't heard right now. Luxury in a crisis. I thought it was very profound in that statement. But as Mark Cuban was saying, many of us have got time now to make decisions that we haven't had time to do before, because business owners typically say, I don't have enough time in the day to get everything done. So now, depending on your business, you may have the time, right, to sit down and make those decisions and relook at how you have done things before, or yeah, I put that out and it really could have been better if. So, I've seen clients take time to work on their websites because they, have kind of forgot about those, right? Because these kind of things that are outside what their typical day-to-day opportunities are. So they might be brushing up their website, their marketing materials, looking at process flows, really evaluating how that looks, and to try to create additional efficiencies, in scale within their business. So those are some really good things that you can take advantage of the luxury in the crisis. So with where we are at today in our business crisis, there will still be days that you're going to feel like you're spinning out of control, even if you implement, how to channel your energy and pull you forward. There's going to be days like that. I'm a business owner too. Todd's a business owner too, right? We're coming to you as an expert and educating you in this, but we all spin, okay? No matter what, pure business owners, we're going to spin from time to time. And so there's one more saying that I want to share in this grouping, that in the midst of chaos, stand still. Let me say that one more time. In the midst of chaos, stand still. So if you can stop that spin and control what's in your control, as Mark Cuban was saying, you'll be able to think more clearly. You'll be able to put those thoughts into action. And again, change what you want to change in your business. So that's the end of the second critical point. What do you think about that, Todd?
I think that's valuable information. I think that if we look at this, and you almost have to. This is a great opportunity for you to stop and rethink and say, what if I were to open up a business today? What would it look like?
Right.
And we're about to do a grand reopening of all of our businesses.
Great way to look at it.
So what would you do? This is a great opportunity. This is the greatest opportunity that we've ever been handed to stop. And I love what I can't repeat it because I'm bad at repeating information, but what was, stop and stand still, evaluate around you before you move forward. I like that.
Yeah, in the midst of chaos, stand still. It's a way to regroup ourselves. Now, we don't want to stand still and freeze, right? And be there for days. Again, that's going back to the fear and, our hand wringing and our worry that we don't want to do. But, stand still and regroup.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at everything in chaos, you think of if you were bleeding, what do what are the steps? What are you thinking about at that point in time? I mean that, and all of us are bleeding cash. So if we think of, we're almost like an EMT. We've got to figure out, okay, what's critical right now. So
Right.
stop the bleeding, and stop, the issues. How do we become more efficient? And so we can get out of the hospital and move forward.
That's perfect. That's perfect to understand. A lot of times I've called it triage.
Yeah.
Right now it's like, okay, triage. And some people, might not have, maybe they didn't make any movement or think different because, we all hoped that we would be out of this, right, by the end of April and not continue through the month of May. I knew that it was, my brain knew that it was probably going to be June 1st. Hopefully that's going to be, our date of freedom to get back to, the world as we know it in a new normal. But now people may be having that problem of, I was okay here, now there's another month, now I have concerns.
Yeah.
So being able to control what you can control. Yeah. And the last of the 3 critical practices to implement now is pivot with a purpose. So again, you've heard that word pivot has come out probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago and used in about everything that you've read, seen, heard, whatever. But I've added with a purpose. So don't pivot for pivot's sake, all right? Because there's a lot of people that have been told to pivot, but it's pivoting, not throwing Jello on the wall to see what sticks. Okay, it's having a defined purpose. In the purest sense of pivoting, it's when you're moving from your original business model to plan B. Okay, so the best example of those is what the restaurants, have had to do. So maybe some of them didn't even offer carry out before, and now they are doing the curbside function. So this is going away from their original business model of you coming in and ordering and sitting down and enjoying your meal, right, to doing a curbside pickup. They've also taken it farther, one's bars, for example, selling their packaged liquor while you pick up your food, or a beverage, something like that. And I've even seen some of the restaurants that have been allowed to sell basically meat out of their freezer, like sell steaks, that you can buy and cook at home. So those have been some really creative ideas to pivot. And those are quick action pivots. There's really 2 kinds of pivots that you can have, and one is quick action and one's strategic. So the quick action is what we've been putting in place, right now to change whatever we're doing in our business, okay, to take advantage of this opportunity that, is permitted or provided before us. If we do a strategic pivot, that's a little bit longer. Strategic pivots as far as implementation are normally at least 4 weeks out. If we wait 4 weeks to put something out, I'm hoping that, we're not going to need that pivot, but so there might be something that you have to do a quick action pivot right now in what's going on in the business climate. There also may be some things, though, that you think about strategic pivots of when I reopen. So, for example, I'm still, I know it's staying at the restaurants, but it's what everybody can understand. The ones who didn't do carry out before, will they continue to have that planned? Okay, when everything comes back open, that they will do that. And that will be a strategic pivot that they will now be offering food inside and for takeout. Okay. When you're thinking about pivoting, what other services or products can you offer? This is a great time to test things out, try new ideas, and see what is working. And Mark Cuban spoke about that too in his Controlling What You Can Control, is take the chance now and test things out and experiment. All on the other flip side of that, we always think about pivoting, forward to do something new, right, or replace our original model. but I don't want people to forget that it also means moving away from something. So in the midst of this, as you're having more time to work on your business rather than in your business, maybe you see a product or a service that you have been providing for years because you think the customers or clients still need that or want that product or service, but they really might not. You might not be making, a lot of money on it for the effort, okay, or even, how much it cost to do in the first place. So look at what could you move away from and stop and take that money or that energy and channel it into something else, whether it's in the quick action pivot or whether it's in that strategic pivot down the road. But the thing that, I always want everybody to keep in mind is pivot with a purpose. Don't just pivot because you're hearing everybody else is doing it. This is not the somebody's jumping off a bridge, everybody should jump off a bridge, or everybody's jumping off a bridge, I should jump off the bridge. It's you need to pivot with a purpose for your own business. So that's pivoting. What do you think about that, Todd? Anything you have to add with it?
No, I like the idea of pivoting with a purpose because I've talked to some restaurant owners and they will pivot and they were questioning whether or not they should do curbside or not, and we had a really good conversation about do I just offer curbside, or do I just shut down? And I think that's, and I said, well, you're actually providing them a service by being open, because you're giving your customers who love and enjoy being with you and visit you all the time, you're giving them an opportunity to get out of their house. So they want, you're actually providing them a service. You may lose some money off of it, but your brand, right now is brand recognition. It's more about brand recognition and being there during the crisis and showing that you're going to be there when times get hard versus not be there. So I think that's so I love the fact that it's with a purpose, and having a purpose with everything you do. So, don't just pivot just to pivot. Make sure you have that purpose to go along with it.
Exactly. So just recapping before we'll open up for questions, it's just the 3 takeaways that I want to leave you with today is strengthen those cash flow management practices, both from an accounts receivable and accounts payable standpoint. Control what you can control. Stop spending in the midst of chaos, stand still, and then finally pivot with a purpose. So have you seen any questions come through? Do we have anybody asking anything out there?
I think the accounts receivable, I know within our business, that is always the hardest question, especially like right now. Do you send out a bill to a client who's already struggling? And that's always a question of mine. I'm the DI, so I think that's a good draw too. If you're a DI or you're knowing DISC, DISC is very, very important to know. So
I'm actually going to do a DISC workshop after this.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, so let's see. That's the fresh in the mind, with it. Yeah, I mean, anytime we're doing something that's out of our wheelhouse. So again, we go into business because we have a skill or trade, right, that we want to do. But all these other things like collections and, reading financial statements and everything may not be our bailiwick, right? And we always say if that's not yours, find somebody who can help you. That surround yourself with good people, which is what Todd and I, another thing of doing these webinars is to get you to meet some people that maybe you didn't know before, or maybe you didn't know that they did what they're going to talk to you about, right?
Well, and two, just we're learning a lot about our business right now. We're going, we're figuring out where are our weak points, because right now is a glaring example of what our weaknesses are. So we do have a question. If your business is not able to be open at this time, any ideas on how to stay relevant during this time?
Oh, that's a really great question. Of course, it depends on what type of business, and if whoever sent that question wants to come back and give me a line of business.
It's Ann Nowak.
Oh, hello, good morning, Ann. I have suggested to a lot of businesses as yourself, personal services, especially, so our hairstylists and nail salons and things like that they're totally shut down. I said, take to the waves on social media. So just as, we're doing here to help educate through the webinars and so forth, go to the social media and start educating. So for example, I was talking with my hairdresser. She is an excellent color artist. So, she might be teaching and showing or talking about different methods, to color, how you're going to color your hair, foil it, color it all over, whatever. Maybe she's also very good about looking at your hair type and picking out a product. So your shampoo, your conditioner, your mousse, whatever would work best to, to give you the best style. So I said, if you're educating, so if you're using, because a lot of our personal services or people, we all have, at least a Facebook page, if not Instagram, depending on your business or, or something else. But take to the airwaves, now and work on educating your people, staying in touch. Okay.
Brand awareness.
Brand awareness. So the kind of thing is that if you're popping up and you're educating, you're staying top of mind, right? With everybody who's catching that. And so when it comes the time that we're released, I don't want to say that we're like in a prison sentence, but sometimes that's what I feel in my walls. But they'll think, oh my gosh. So even if it's not my hairdresser. So if I'm watching Andrea and I'm learning, but maybe somebody else is saying, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to go, to Andrea. Or we talked about massage therapists, right? Okay, so they're another one, totally out. But how many of us were working at home? How many of us are ergonomically correct in our workspace? How many of us, are making workspaces, wherever we can, and we're hunching up and we're, getting tension and pain in our shoulders, or we're not getting up and walking around, so we're having backaches, and so forth. So what if, you came on and you started talking about the importance of how you're sitting in your chair and how you're typing, or maybe some stretches or different things that you could try if you are teed up at the end of the day. So that would be my best recommendation is, don't sit back quiet, keep relevant, increase that brand awareness, as Todd said, and be out in front of your people. Great question, Dan. Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, if you look at, my big thing is, making brand awareness. I mean, making people, just like you said, being top of mind and being there when you need them. I know a lot of hairdressers are also doing like leader sales, where they'll sell products and they'll say, okay, on Friday I'm doing product sales.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still getting them to come back, and it's an online sale, but you're not really cutting their hair. So you're you're providing them the product that they're normally used to getting. But just about anything. Here's one that, here's a question that came through. Where does it?
Before you read that, can I say one more thing too?
Go for it.
I'll do the plug for Mother's Day, because that's a big pivot that a lot that are closed have taken, is offering gift cards to come back. Great way. Get mom out, get her hair or nails done, whatever, get her massage after we get through this. So think about gift cards. Sorry, go ahead with the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does the can you pivot too much with a purpose?
So say that first part again.
Can you pivot too much with a purpose?
Can you pivot too much with a purpose?
So can you go too far from where?
I'm sure you probably could, and I'm trying to think. It's hard to get handicapped without knowing a business, but even though it's a quick action pivot that we're looking for right now in this climate, you still got to plan it out a little bit. Okay, we can't take the 4 weeks or longer like a strategic pivot, but we need to evaluate it and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're doing it, and this is what our expected outcome is of it, and see, does that make sense? So if it's too extreme, then you pivoted too much with a purpose that it may not work, okay, for what your business is. So going straight out, for example, I was talking with a person that said, this is what I normally sell. Okay, this is my main line of business, and it's an essential service that is continuing. But suppliers, a couple of them were calling, and they were saying, hey, we have masks and we have hand sanitizer for sale. Okay, we have it in stock. Would you like to buy any? Well, there was really no direct correlation between that person's main line of business and this hand sanitizer and masks. But we still sat back and we talked about it, because is it complementary? Is the fact that you could get it right now, and help out your customers who may be having trouble obtaining it, is that something you're adding value? You're not really pivoting totally away from your real line of business. And again, that might be something, and probably will be something, that you won't continue once we open back up. But instead of saying right away, no, that doesn't match, it's sit back and think, does that make sense, and is that a good purpose for serving my clients? So it could be not just hand sanitizer and mask, it could be anything that somebody is bringing to you that is different from what you do now. Just evaluate it to see if it's complementary, and if your clients and customers want it. People are answering the phone right now, right? Everybody we hear on the webinars and everything, people that you haven't been able to talk to for forever, you've been leaving voicemails, they're answering the phone now. They're wanting human contact. So pick up and ask your customers, is there anything that I can help you with? Would this be beneficial?
All right. Here's another one. Where does the aspect of risk come into play? Is there such thing as being too risky when branching out, trying something new?
There is always that risk. This is the perfect time, getting that in Mark Cuban, this is the perfect time to experiment, with something. But again, the point is, even though it is a quick action pivot, it has to be looked at and, given with the same risk management, maybe not down to the nth detail like you would do for everything else that, new product line or service line that you want to offer in your business, but evaluating that risk. And the best way is to talk with someone else, get somebody, talk to a coach or a consultant, talk to somebody, another business owner or whatever that, that you have a great relationship with, and, bounce those ideas off, because we all know as business owners, and again, I'll say it for myself, we get blinders and we can't see, what that risk is. And from my background in compliance and audit, that's all I've done is risk management, pretty much for like 23 years of my life. So a lot of times when I work with clients, I say, now, I know it might sound like I'm coming out with the gloom and doom by saying, have you thought, have you thought, have you thought? And I'm not poo-pooing your idea by any means, but that's my place to sit there and figure out, or to bring up questions of, what could go wrong or what needs to be adjusted. So, if talk to me, talk to another coach or consultant, whoever. You've got to have the right person that fits with you, but giving that opportunity. And in case I forget, before we get off of here, because I could do that, that I am offering, free consultations right now. They're no cost, no obligation, just there to talk. So if you wanted to talk through a risk factor, an idea for a pivot, an idea for, what happens when we come out of this, or how to rebound, that I'm making myself completely available to all the business owners to have those conversations. So I highly encourage you, to reach out and contact me, and my contact information will be here, and we'll come out with our wonderful Madison behind the scenes. We forgot to talk about Madison up front, but without Madison, who is putting, all of this together and helping us, Todd and I might have pivoted too late, and we might be doing this, right?
There's no way. There's no way that we would not be. There would be no way that we would be able to put this together without Madison in the background. So
we greatly appreciate her. So we thank her very much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and to your point, pivoting and looking at risk. What we do during the pandemic may not be what we do in the back end, because we may not want to do drive by or drop off with our restaurants. That may not be something that we want to take on, because there is a lot of risk associated with it. There's the Department of Labor is now looking at things right now, and they're kind of taking a blind eye to a lot of laws that apply. So, So what we do during the pandemic may not be what we do when we come out of this. As long as it's not continuing on past June 1st.
Yeah, and even if we do, have our stay in place order, ended at the end of May. And again, I don't want to be all the doom and gloom. We know it's going to take a while, right, to get things back. We're still going to have a new normal, so it may never be the same as what it was before the pandemic started. Just like, we've lived through 9/11, and we know how much things changed, right, after that. And some things went away, and some things, just continued, and now it's a way of life. So we may have that, now too. But so that's one thing that some businesses have been super focused on, the here and now, right now. Let's look at pivoting. What does it look like? Okay, how am I going to rebound? What's my grand reopening going to look like? But really thinking, okay, what's the rest of my year going to look like? I spend a lot of time strategic planning with my clients, and we say, Kenrick, who spoke last week, excellent to say, we no longer can plan strategic planning out 10 years, 20 years. That's what we used to do. We don't know what it's going to be now at the end of this year. So we may have this strategic plan that's saying this is where we're going to go, but with what's happened, we need to look at that and see, what revisions would be made, and then making sure that we're working, towards those, I don't say new goals, but they're reset, right? It's resetting those goals and those aspirations for the end of the year.
Well, and two, we just went through a huge change, and if we look at like computers was every 6 months there was a change, and we as business owners can get along with a 6 month change, but we went from from about the March 17th, and we had a change every single day. And that has an impact on you, and you have to be ready for every single different change. And I'm sitting here pulling my hair out on all the law changes and trying to get everybody educated as fast as possible. And that change has an impact, and every single change is being more impactful every single day. So you have to be ready for the change that's going to happen tomorrow. And the pace of change has significantly increased.
Yes, the future isn't so far away. Kenrick has another line for that. But I can't remember. Sorry, Kenrick, I'm not getting it, but I'm getting exactly what you had said in another presentation I'd watched. But yeah, the future is tomorrow. Theoretically, it's not, out here anymore. So yeah, being prepared, being open, keeping up. Like I said, there's a lot of great people that are taken to the airwaves. Some of you may be webinared to death, but get in front of these webinars and learn all that you can, and meet all these different people that you can call on when you need them to discuss these things. Take advantage of it. Work on your business right now. I'm pointing, I know. That's the coach coming out, right?
Yeah. I think one final question. As a small business owner, what is the first step I should take after hearing this presentation?
Go look at your accounts receivable aging. That's what I would say. Now, obviously, if you're on a cash basis and not accrual, you don't have that. But so after you see what your accounts receivable aging is looking like, then go back and look at do you have enough cash to run your operations and other liquid assets to make it 3 to 6 months? What is really your cash position? How liquid are you? And if you don't have one of those line of credits, then develop a relationship with a bank or talk with your banker now about getting one. So depending on where you are, what position, you have 3 different ways to go there. 3 different concepts today. You got 3 different ways that you can do something right after we get done today. Excellent questions.
All right. I'm not seeing any more questions. So let's kind of wind up for today. And do you have any other last comments, Teresa?
No, just thank you, for everybody who tuned in this morning and who'll watch on the replay. And again, I extend that opportunity to talk with anyone, and just like I said, just bounce some ideas off. I say that I'm a coach, a consultant, and yeah, oftentimes I can be a therapist when you just need to bounce some things off. So great to be able. I again thank Todd for this ability to partner, and so excited he gets to talk tomorrow. He put ladies first, right? You had me start the week. So Todd, what you're going to talk about what tomorrow, Todd?
Tomorrow is stay or go.
Should I stay or should I go now? Nobody wants to hear me sing, so we should end, right?
Yeah, I always have some kind of musical theme, so.
I like it. So you won't want to miss that. So we'll just be trading places tomorrow morning from 8 to 9.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. And again, you should, if you're attending this webinar, you should have an ability to review it. And there should be a comment section When you get a survey, please give us comments, and so that we can make this a better webinar for you. But we really appreciate you attending. I hope that you found this to be valuable for your business, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great Tuesday.